Hi, this is Vicki Romaine with Cheerful Greetings, and today we're going to make a mat board. And as you can tell, we've had some ice cream lately, and so I've saved the packaging for that. And now I'm going to be using it as a base for my mat board. This box has a number of creases and flaps, and so I don't want all of those in being used for my mat board. I want it solid. So what I have done is cut the pieces off, and this is the piece I have left of one side. And this is the two pieces that I had removed so that the mat board would be solid. So I won't be using them. They'll be put over to the side. And later, if I want to make a real small one, I will use them. Okay, to start my mat board, I want to pull out all my scraps, and everyone has a lot of scraps. So this is what I'm going to do. I have a box here of quite a few scraps, and I'm just going to get a few of them out. And in these scraps are a number of pieces that are big enough to be used on something else. And so I'll probably pick through them and not use those pieces. I'll just use the scraps that are too small or have odd shapes to them. I have a sponge brush that I'm going to be using, and I'm going to be using some Mod Podge. I'm going to put a layer of Mod Podge down, and then I will stick my pieces on like this. And I will put them on the mat board in no particular order, and they'll have different shapes. And my purpose of this is just to cover the board completely. And if they go over the outside, that's okay. I'll come back and trim it down to the cardboard itself. So I will proceed to put these pieces on. And basically what I am doing now is just making one layer on the cardboard. And this is a fairly lightweight cardboard, but it's really substantial. So we'll just put various things on here. This is a piece of handmade paper there. And if you notice, I've even kept the pieces of white that are on the 12 by 12 sheets of cardstock. And I don't care what shape they are, because I will be putting pieces on top of them, and you'll never know what the original shape of the scrap was. So let's just continue, and I'll put a few pieces to the side that are big enough for me to use later. Now that the cardboard has a complete layer on of scraps, I'm going back now and putting a second and third layer, depending on where I just happen to put a scrap on. This is to cover up some of the spots I might have missed and give it a little more texture to my mat board. I am still using Mod Podge to glue my pieces down. On other mat boards, I have actually used glue. And here's a piece of metal. I don't know how that got into my scraps, but I won't be able to use it. Okay, I'm pretty much finished here. We have a few more pieces out that I want to try to get rid of. But the majority of my mat board is finished. And you can look and see that it has no rhyme or reason as far as the placement of these scraps. And I leave white areas showing, like down there by the barcode on one of the pieces. You'll see that there's a barcode down there. So I do leave some white showing in my mat board. And here is my mat board. It's pretty much finished now. The next step now is to take my Mod Podge and completely cover the top of the mat board. The purpose of this is, number one, to seal all the pieces of paper and cardstock down in case there's a piece sticking up that didn't get glued on real well, and so it won't snag on something else and be pulled up. Also, it's to give the mat board a smooth finish. And as I put it on, you will notice that it gives a white or cloudy cast to the papers. This will disappear when the Mod Podge dries. And in some places it will be a little thicker than in others, depending on if I was trying to fill a hole on top of the a mat board in between some of the pages and some of the sheets. I want to make sure that the edges are covered good. So I'm holding my cardboard up so I can get to the edges easily and give them a good coat. Now my mat board is just about covered with all of the Mod Podge. And as you can tell, a lot of it is still cloudy looking. But this will go away with the drying. So next step is to let it dry. And it won't take too terribly long, especially in this warm weather. And especially since I am working on this outside. It won't take any time at all. Next thing that I want to do is make my mat board usable. And so what I'm going to do after it dries is cut it into pieces that make it usable. And you will notice that the pattern that you see now is kind of chaotic. But after I've cut it, it will have some sort of rhyme or reason. And so here we are here. I have cut my mat board into 6 pieces. I cut it in half up and down, and then I cut it in 3 pieces going across. So I have 6 usable pieces. And I'm going to go now and trim any edges that need to be trimmed where the pieces stick over the side of the basic cardboard. Now these, you wonder what can you use these for? Well, first thing I would do is probably cover the back of each one either with a lined piece of paper or just plain white or beige copy paper. What I think would look nice is copy paper stained. And I can do that to the back of each one, and they can be used as comment cards. Or I can cut them up a little more and make a tag at them. I'm leaving them like they are now so that I can use them in the manner in which I want at the time. Otherwise, right now, I've made something ahead of time, and I can have it, it's already, and now I only have to cut a couple things or glue some paper on the back, and I have a finished piece. But if you notice, I have all sorts of interesting patterns in these pieces. I hope you enjoyed watching me make this mat board. You can tell it was very easy. The only thing I did was just haphazardly glue pieces of scrap paper and cardstock to a piece of cardboard. And I chose to glue it to the slick side so that the back side would be plain. And they could either write on it, or I could put it in a journal and use it however I wanted to. So that's why I chose to make it plain. If you notice, I did put some white in it with a barcode. That makes it more interesting. And it has some writing in it. So take your scraps and see what you can make. And you will find that even though when you're working on it, you wonder what it's going to look like, after it's finished, you will have a whole new outlook on your project. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, please come back and see me. And don't forget to try this. It's loads of fun. And guess what? It uses up that scrap paper that's in the way. So in the meantime, if you will, come back and see me, and please subscribe, and have a great crafting day. And I have not forgotten my cool cards. I'm still working on them. I just thought I'd take a break from it and do a mat board using scraps. So in the meantime, hope to see you next time. Bye.